The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of fad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty.
Welcome to the podcast with Earnest EJ Christian. On the line, of course, is the host of the I Still Love This Game podcast. We're talking NBA today. It's been about 2 weeks. Gotta get it in now. The man, Matthew Damian. What's up?
How are you, mate?
Mate, how are you?
I'm good. Just do not repeat that Australian accent again. Everything
you really
is
hate
fine.
that, don't you? You really hate when I do that, huh?
Because it's terrible. It's shocking.
At least
And
you're
do it
honest.
again. Go on.
At least you're honest.
The fuck is that? What is that, Scottish?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, I'm just messing with you. Everything's good.
But you know me, Matt. I just do. I don't even think. I just do. And if it sounds cheesy, then so be it.
Yeah. Whatever excuse you sound like a LeBron worshiper. The excuses are just free flowing. No, everything's going well, man. 2 books are close to being released.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
2 new ones. One is about Wilt and one is about Jordan.
Okay.
And
wow. Jordan, another Jordan book. What perspective?
Another Jordan book?
Well, I mean, I got a lot of people who released I know people who released some Jordan books, in the past and perspectives and whatnot. What perspective are you coming from this one?
Well, it's really look. I branched off because I was doing the top 75 players of all time. That is an actual book that I'm doing as well. But there's so many. Like for some reason, Jordan is still such a controversial topic.
But
right?
why though?
Yeah, and that's why because he was almost too good. And I don't want to say that as like I'm romanticizing the guy, but I'm simply saying that people are looking because it's natural to want to see the evolution of the game. We saw it with Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain. We saw it with Kareem. We saw it with Dr. J. We saw it with Magic Bird, and then Jordan. Kobe came close, relatively close. Shaq as well. You could argue he was even more dominant than what Jordan was. But we never saw either of those guys ascend higher than Jordan. LeBron definitely hasn't gotten higher than Jordan either.
No, I agree.
But we're looking for reasons to not give Jordan the greatest of all time status if there's an opportunity to do so, whether it's Kareem or Bill Russell or Magic or LeBron or whoever.
There is a thirst. No, there is a thirst, and part of the reason I'm glad we have this new media, especially too, is that it does allow the opportunity for people who might want to push back on let's accept that Jordan's the greatest of all time and that's it. I've always said that he's the greatest of all time, but I've always said that you can make arguments to other people too, because if you use context, there's a case to be made. But I think, and you said Shaq being dominant, probably, if not more, the problem, the reason I can't put Shaq in there is because Shaq was dominant for like a 2, 3, maybe 4 year period.
Yeah.
Jordan was dominant for
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
a full decade at least.
Yeah. So what the book does is it addresses each guy that has a legitimate argument against Jordan. It also throws in other guys too that you don't hear the name for, like Oscar Robertson, for example,
right. Yeah.
And players of that stature. And it addresses why Jordan is still ahead, still the standard, as opposed to the others. Now, it's a fair book. I haven't gone in to with my mind made up. I would never do that. I tried to evaluate each player fairly and to see if there actually is a case. And I'm always open to my mind being changed with this stuff. So that's the approach that I'm taking. So if you ask me what the difference is, I haven't gone in to try to prove anything. I've gone in there to try to learn, and that's the same way I did with the previous book as well, to try to figure this out as I was going along, and it'd be a journey for the myself as well as the reader.
Right. Now, I think a lot of the pushback now it's kind of twofold. LeBron coming in 03, the whole hype from high school into the NBA, and then the new media that surrounded him. And
why do you think that makes a big difference?
Because I think the new media because while it's still mostly acceptable that Jordan's greatest of all time, I think he still wins that argument even with people today. I do think this is the first time since Jordan existed as a basketball player in general that at least people have an avenue. And the people who say LeBron, for example, are a lot louder because there's an avenue. There's actually a place for them to be expressive in that way. You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't make it any more legitimate, though.
No. That's what I'm saying. First of all, LeBron's I'm not even sure LeBron's top 3. I'm not even sure. So, because I still say Magic Kareem probably has a better case than LeBron, to be honest with you. But what I'm saying, though, is that the difference between the thing that Magic didn't have and Bird didn't have and even Kobe and even Shaq and guys like that is that they didn't have the fan base that also had the opportunity to be loud. You know what I mean?
But who's listening? See, here's the thing. This is the social media world that we kind of live in. But once you escape it for a little bit, I mean, I never go on Twitter now. I barely go on Instagram unless I get... Yeah.
Well, Instagram's fun. Why not Instagram? Instagram's fun. Instagram is the one place I feel like I can be expressive to a point and not have to worry about the other BS.
Because it's still the same thing, though.
Yeah,
because it's the same. It's like you are held to a higher standard because you can't get away with the 140 or 280 character excuse now. You still have to make an argument, and I like that. But that's that time that if you get sucked into it, and believe me, I when I first moved over here, I had absolutely nothing else to do. I was posting twice a day, and I get good engagements. I get 300, 400 engagements per post. So that would keep me busy with those conversations. But you can get drawn into a cycle, and even then, it still becomes a circle jerk. And people,
that's true. That's true.
And people get awfully upset because people will say that, I'm paraphrasing here, but people say, I'm in the middle. All right, I'm in the middle. But they're really not. I pride myself on being on the middle. So I'll call LeBron out when he plays bad. I'll also commend him when he plays well. And the same with every player. I called out Jordan when Gary Payton essentially locked him down in the 96 finals.
That's correct.
People were shocked about that.
Games 3 through 6, though, not...
not 3. No, game 3, Jordan had 30-something points, and they blew him out. Game 4 and 5...
But wasn't Payton... But didn't they make that adjustment in the second half of that game, though? Wasn't the adjustment made by George Karl in the second half of the game?
It actually happened... Well, they say publicly, but if you watch game 3, you will see Payton on Jordan early because they had to start Tony Kukoc in place of Ron Harper. Mm-hmm. So they went to a big lineup: Pippen, Jordan, Kukoc, Rodman, Longley for most of the game. So Payton was actually the guy that he was happily switching on everything to get on Jordan, and Jordan ate him alive in game 3. Game 4 and 5, and even game 6, different story completely. Mm-hmm. But we can talk in depth for that because I looked up that series quite a bit to have a look at why an argument is made for Dennis Rodman being the Finals MVP in '96, and it's a good argument. It's a really interesting.
That's actually interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I still go with Jordan.
You know what? Let's sidebar that for a podcast.
Oh, this is getting going.
Only because I'm saying that only because of the fact that we're gonna need content going forward. Once things die off, and that'll be something we can dive into definitely when it dies off. You know what I mean?
Anything big happened in the NBA last night? I wasn't watching. I'm just kidding.
No, well, actually, to be honest with you, I wasn't really. I gotta be honest with you, man. I haven't been plugged in the league as much as I normally am this early. Normally, I'm plugged in from day one, and that doesn't mean I don't know what's going on. I am following what's going on. I'm definitely plugged in terms of like I know who's in the first place.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I remember I said that I was taking a sabbatical. And you gave me so much shit for that because this is the time to do it.
Only because that it's the season. No. Wait. Hold on a second. I still podcasted though. You stopped podcasting in general. That's why.
Yeah, it slowed down a bit. I took like a 2-week break.
When I say that I haven't been plugged in, it means the NBA in general. I'm plugged in the NFL like right now, night and day right now because the season's been great. To be honest with you.
It has been really good. It's reminded me of like this is why I grew to love the American football. Yeah. This past season, I mean, who is the clear cut favorite in the NFL right now?
There really isn't. There's maybe 3 or 4 teams.
And isn't that great? Isn't that great that you can't just point to the Patriots and say, "Oh, the Patriots are going to make the Super Bowl again"?
Well, I have this thing here. I have this thing on the show I do now, where I have Super Bowl tiers, and obviously it can be modified week to week. Obviously, 2 weeks ago I had 7 teams in my Super Bowl tier. Again, right now I may have 3 or 4 now, or 5. Obviously the Saints, the Patriots, of course, can write them off.
Chiefs,
the Rams. All of a sudden, the Steelers are out of nowhere, playing much better football. The Chargers playing good football as well too. I had Philly for a little while, but now Philly's out because they've been struggling. Yeah. But it's great to have a season with no distractions, no more stuff about the anthem. CTE, we know that's a thing, but you know what? Let that be through the courts and all that legal stuff. The game is about the game right now, and that's what I love. I'm so invested. And this is a guy. And look, I'm a Giants fan, and my team sucks this year, and I'm still invested. So what does that tell you?
Well, Chelsea is great. I don't have it. Look at where I moved to. What have I got? The Lions or the Browns? What have I got?
Hey, the Browns on the way up, though. They're gonna be. Okay.
I know they are definitely on the way up. Especially when you consider who they may be bringing in as a coach. That's what they need. They need a strong figurehead as a coach. Yeah. I can't think of his name. Who was the guy? Arians. That's it, Bruce Arians. If
he decides to do it, if he decides to come in, which I think, if his health is okay, that's a great move because he's also a quarterback whisperer too, and I think he'll do wonders for Baker Mayfield. But yeah, it's great to have a season where there's no more distractions, no more bullshit. Let's just get to the fucking games and toward the games. That's it. I'm not saying that the end's not important. I'm not saying those things aren't important, but the time and place.
Yes.
Time and place.
Yes. Here's my stance on it, right? For lack of a better term, it's the point has been made. The time really for a discussion has passed. It's time for something to be implemented. If we're serious about seeing a change to police brutality or inequality towards minorities or whatever in terms of police interactions, now it's the time to actually come up with some kind of a solution.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't want to see it's far too tribalistic to look at it like, are you kneeling? Then you're for it. If you're not kneeling, you're against it. No, right. Let's come up with a solution.
Right, and I think now, I'm pro kneeling only because of the fact that there's no rule in place to say you can't do it. Now, if they don't have a rule in place, then so fucking be it. Then you don't do it. Yeah. That being said, though, now if you're still doing it now, it's more narcissism more than actual trying to find a way. And that's my problem. And I've always been consistent on that fact. I don't get involved in the meat and potatoes of he's not American, he's not kneeling. No. It is what it is. At some point, okay, fix the fucking problem. I'm a solutions guy. Be solutions guy, everybody. That's it. So
the NBA, huh?
Yes, the NBA. See, I'm all plugged in. The NBA is here. No, but Jimmy Butler, the saga's over, or we think it's over anyway. We think it's over. Trade to the Sixers. As a Heat fan, I did want him. I was concerned though about there was some apprehension about getting him though, as a Heat fan, because is he worth at age 32, 33, $40 million, to have in a roster, or are you better off keeping the roster you have now with young guys, developing them? Hopefully, they can become maybe a Jimmy Butler light at a lesser price tag and whatnot. And then you see how everything played out from the end of the preseason into the regular season. The benching and so much benching himself and all that, and some of the infighting. I in hindsight, as a Heat fan, I love Butler, but I'm kind of glad we didn't go that route.
Well, it's concerning because it's happened twice now. And it happened in Chicago. Obviously, they traded in pennies on the dollar in terms of talent and what they got back. Although Levine has turned out well, at that time, he wasn't this player that he is now.
And Markkanen's pretty good, too. The draft pick also.
Yeah. So, but at that time, I mean, let's be honest. At that time, it was a pretty lopsided trade in terms of talent and what they were getting for what they were giving up. It's a little bit concerning, but I'm more concerned with Minnesota when I look at this. And you look at, you've got a couple of young bulls there, not for lack of a better term, really good young players in terms of talent in Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins. When you look at their talent, and I was going to get to this point with Markelle Fultz in a second.
Okay.
But the most underrated part of an athlete's body is between the ears, or it's their heart. And how much desire they have, or the competitive they have. And I have seen nothing from Minnesota, and maybe that just drove Jimmy Butler incredibly insane. Not insane, but to the point that he went the route that he went. I just can't play with these guys. Now, it'll be interesting what happens with Philly, because when you look at it, Philly is made up very similarly to what Minnesota is.
Yeah.
Now, they have more talent. There's no question about that. I mean, Ben Simmons more talented than Wiggins. Obviously, Embiid is more talented than Carl Anthony Towns. But both of those guys, all four of those guys, really play the same sort of styles.
And you know what? You know what's funny too. Also, not kind of quick. The reason why I was pro Butler for the most part, even that whole saga, is that Butler came from a place where he was, I guess, he was homeless at one point in his life. He came from nothing to something. So he has a lot of dog in him. Whereas Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins are, number one picks. They kind of were. I would say they're entitled, but they have the kind of that image and optics of being entitled players. They don't have any dog in them, and I think that frustrated Butler a lot. In a lot of ways, I like that Butler wanted to get was an asshole to some degree, because I do see that with Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, that they're a bit of softies, from what I can see, but there's still ways to handle that better, and I don't think Butler handled that the way you should.
Well, what's the right way to do it? If he handles it any more politically, they probably don't trade him. Yeah,
I guess you're right to some degree. I don't know.
Because you think about it, because they would probably not have dealt him. They're probably like, you know what, we can fix this. We can,
well, you know what's funny? You're right there. You know what? And there's where you blame Tom Thibodeau.
Oh, yeah. He's the most overrated coach in basketball, without question.
And I think he should have been fired last week because, and don't get me wrong, I like what they got back for Butler. I like Saric. I like Covington. Those guys should be able to fit pretty nicely in Minnesota. But they were better offers on the table beforehand.
Yeah, the four first-round picks. Why did they not take that? Like, even if there were 4 consecutive first-round picks, which you cannot do, you can't trade away. I'll get it out one day. Yeah. Trade away consecutive draft picks for your franchise. It has to be broken up. So we're talking about, the last draft pick will be 7 years from now. So they're getting first-round picks for him. In a broken up. So what the point that I'm going to make, in 6 or 7 years from now, this Houston Rockets team is definitely not going to be the definitive contender at that stage. So those picks will have value at that stage.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It made no sense. It was like when you have an offer for a guy that you end up getting Covington and Saric for, and I think they got a couple of second-round picks as well, that's... Man, I could understand if you're getting bona fide players coming now, like all-star level players, but those guys are role players.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And to me, that's a Thibodeau problem. But then it's also a Glenn Taylor problem, the owner. Because Glenn Taylor, again, he has the power to put an end to this shit. And he, has refused to, so I don't understand. But, at this point now, Thibodeau is dead man walking to me. This is last year in contract. They don't have to renew it. They can fire him now if they wanted to, pay him his money, whatever. But and maybe the overrated thing, maybe you're correct on that. Maybe you're right.
I think he lucked out with 2 really good defensive teams, and everyone thought he was a defensive genius.
Yeah.
Because what we've seen in Minnesota, when they have Wiggins, when they have Butler, when they had Deng's a good defender too, and they had guys like Jeff Teague, who's not a bad defender. Derrick Rose is not a bad defender. They're not great defenders, but they're not bad defenders. When you have that much defensive firepower and they're still bleeding points.
That team, even without Butler, should be a playoff team. I'm sorry, with that talent.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Butler. So that says more about, again, the coaching and whatnot. And you're probably right. I mean, if you have to reassess, really, Tom Thibodeau's career, I would tend to say he's overrated.
What do you think of Butler's fit in Philadelphia?
I think optics-wise, it looks good. I mean, obviously, you need a wing player. They need a wing player. They got a wing player. The question is going to be the egos. Because, one thing I will say, Embiid got dog in him. That's one thing I will say. He's got the thing that he wanted Carl Anthony Towns to have. that is true. I would say Simmons also, in comparison to Wiggins, has the thing that Butler wanted Wiggins to have that Simmons does have now. So the dog and the toughness,
Pride.
He has that. Does it work as a team against Boston, Toronto, Milwaukee now? Obviously, he's in the mix. That's
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. You named all those teams. Milwaukee's definitely got it. I've been very impressed with Milwaukee.
Yeah, I said they'd be top 3 seed in the East. And everybody thought I was like an idiot. Like, they got a coach, dude. They got a coach.
And also the development of the players too, and the coach actually, brought Brogdon into the starting lineup and things like that, and now they're playing essentially Giannis at the 4.
Yeah.
Which nobody really thought that was a lie. Jason Kidd tried to play him at the point guard. It tells you a bit about the versatility.
But I wasn't against that. But I actually wasn't against that though. I thought that was actually a decent.
No,
idea.
I was saying I was talking about the versatility that this guy has at this stage of his career, and he's gone from 1 to 4. And what's the difference between a 4 and a 5 now in the NBA?
There is none.
But the point that I was going to make in regards to the top tier teams in the Eastern Conference, there's still question marks about their ability to close situations. Now, Boston has the best argument to say that they can do so because you got Kyrie Irving, you got Al Horford, you got some veterans in there, and they made a long playoff run last season. But Toronto, still question marks about their abilities to close. Philly now is maybe still, they haven't closed the gap in terms of talent, but I like their pieces fitting a little bit better than definitely before the trade happened. Because before now they were relying on Fultz to be that third guy, that third option, and now maybe Ben Simmons gets pushed back to the third option, and maybe in terms of pure scoring, by the way, not in terms of who creates.
Right.
But now all of a sudden the pressure isn't on somebody who can't shoot the ball like Ben Simmons. You've got Jimmy Butler who can carry the load. You mentioned Embiid as well, who's clearly the best center in basketball right now, outside of maybe Jokic,
and also low and probably under the radar MVP candidate.
Oh, of course. Who's your top 5 MVP candidates right now?
Okay, in no order, just based on what I've seen in the stuff I've seen so far. Kawhi definitely in there.
Yep.
Giannis definitely in there.
Yep.
I would say, let me look this real quick, make sure. Well, before he got hurt, I would have said Curry.
Yep.
I would have said Curry in the mix there. Let me think. Well, they've fallen off the last couple of weeks, but I had Davis at one point in there. And then I'll say Embiid.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting because the teams that are successful, there's no real, clear-cut player outside of maybe Giannis and Kawhi Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the top-tier teams, it's all a real balanced attack. What do you think about Carmelo? And then what happened to him?
That's on my list, actually, here, the things to talk about.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's good. You're good. You're good. Yeah. That's for the listeners here, Matt wanted to come in this thing clean. I had, talking points set to go. He said, don't tell me talking points, we'll just go with it and whatever. And that's one talking points here. I don't know, maybe it's too fast to give up on Carmelo, 2 weeks in? That's kind of quick. I don't know if I want to blame Carmelo as being the main issue for Houston. Chris Paul did miss some time, too, on top of that. Harden missed some time as well. I kind of feel like I'm not a Carmelo guy, but this has a scapegoat feel to me.
Oh yeah, and this is what they got to be careful of now. And maybe this is a Pat Riley-esque move to get rid of Melo. It's eliminating all excuses. So say if they're 2 games under 500 come All-Star break, they can't use that excuse anymore. They got rid of the guy that was apparently holding them down.
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the excuse now? Now I know they beat Denver in Denver, which is a pretty big feat now, considering the way the season is going up until this point. But now there's no excuses. There's absolutely no excuses. And I remember, I've got to give you some credit. The more and more I think about it, because we did an episode a couple of months ago where you were mentioning that don't be surprised if you see Trevor Ariza get a buyout and he ends up back in Houston.
I've been saying that all fucking summer and even the fall.
I remember you said that, and it seemed, it's hard to sort of predict these things, especially when the guys just signed it. But it's starting to open up, isn't it?
Tyson Chandler
got released
in Phoenix to the Lakers. They're going to start let go of these veterans and let them play. Once Phoenix falls apart, which already are falling apart, 3-11 obviously, they'll start getting these veterans freed up and they'll let them play on contenders, and this makes the most sense.
Of course. So kudos to you. You saw that before he even signed in Phoenix. So well done.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Maybe they should have traded each other for each other straight up. That would have made even more sense. But do you think Melo
I can just buy him out. It's only 1-year contracts. Just buy him out and then let him go where he wants to go.
Where do you think Melo will end up? The big 3?
I've heard Miami obviously is in the mix, but I at this point I don't know if Riley wants him. I think the Heat right now are working on development, and I think anybody that look, honestly, I can't find a team on the list here that would that could use him, because if you're a young team, do you want that guy stunting growth? If you're a contender, do you want that guy, who still thinks he's a top 10 player in the top 20 player in the league, want him eating minutes up that's not valuable, that's valuable to other players? This is why I think there's a strong chance we might see the last of him in the league.
Yeah, that's why I jokingly said the big three. Look, there is. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him, say, in Minnesota, for example. Just say Thibs is desperate to get to the playoffs at least, and they're maybe half a game out, and they need some scoring, and he can still score. He's definitely not the scorer he once was, but I could see a team like that who's desperate to make the playoffs. I mean,
he averaged 13 a game in Houston when he's like the fifth option or fourth option. I don't know.
Coming off the bench, I think he's been humbled. I don't think he wants to come in, get 25 shots per game like he expected in Oklahoma.
What I will say is this. I'm not saying Carmelo is this big, I'm not trying to praise this guy because I have a lot of criticism. He's a Hall of Famer, no doubt about that. First ballot.
Oh, without question.
First ballot, in fact.
Yes.
But I do think that there's a scapegoat, let's blame this guy. It's easier to blame this guy because he's this guy here and he has the black hole mantra going on with him. And I think it's too easy. And by the way, I said, and not to brag again, but I said for your story that Houston will come back to the pack a little bit. Not this bad, but I thought we'd come back to the pack a little bit.
Well, they're at the bottom of the pack right now. They're not even coming to the
right
pack.
Now they're 6-7. They are currently the 12th seed in the West. Now, obviously, you look at 6 through 14.
Oh, it's really a logjam. It's a Western Conference.
It's so early.
Who
separates, who doesn't separate, we'll see what happens. I mean, the Kings are crying out loud right now. The players started in the playoffs.
And Memphis too. It's crazy, man. I did have a look at the standings before we came on, and the Lakers are in the top 8. The Clippers, my goodness, who saw that coming? The Clippers are in the top 8 as well.
I gotta be honest with the Clippers. They're actually an interesting case study moving forward because for the first time, like obviously when they had Donald Sterling, they were able to get Chris Paul, they drafted Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and they had that little run. But I feel like even with not having those stars anymore, with Steve Ballmer as the owner, which I love, by the way, I respect the hell out of him, they, for the first time, even without the star power, feel stable. Like, I feel like players will want to play there now.
Jerry West, man. He knows what he's doing. I remember when that trade happened for not just Chris Paul, but for Blake Griffin. Mm-hmm. And I said, if those two guys, Avery Bradley and Patrick Beverley, get healthy, they've got the best defensive backcourt in the league.
Yeah, they do.
And it's not even close. And now you're starting to see, we talk about the pendulum swings between politics at times, but now you're starting to see offense-defense pendulum swings in basketball.
Yeah.
And maybe, this is the pendulum swing. I mean, we also saw this with Memphis, do we see small ball, up and down the court, fast-paced, or do you see the grinding of Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol, players of that nature? And we saw some success in Memphis for a little while, but nothing really coming from it. Maybe the Clippers are the new Memphis Grizzlies in that sense. You never know.
And maybe look, this may not hold up. This may not be sustainable going forward. But if they make the playoffs with this roster, I mean, you talk about Coach of the Year, Doc Rivers.
He deserved consideration last year.
I mean, I called him overrated like 2-3 years ago in a blog and on this podcast. Like, oh, he's overrated. I may have to undo that.
I think you might have to based off what he did last season.
Yeah.
I've called him overrated as well because there's no way a team with the talent that they had. But I mean, it's funny how time provides the answers to all these things. And Chris Paul was beyond any type of retribution at that stage. No one would really question him, even though he was the one with the bad track record.
Right.
But it's interesting to see, and I was played with this as well because I thought Carmelo would be a lot better, at least, than what he was in Oklahoma. And people say, he can't play alongside Russell Westbrook. This is a damning indictment of Russell Westbrook not being a good point guard, blah, blah, blah. He was a lot more effective in Oklahoma than he was in Houston.
And
I'll give
to
him
be
that.
honest, and to be honest with you, I feel like even though the fit wasn't good, I feel like that could have been easily fixed. That's where Carmelo fucked up. See, if Carmelo accepted being on the bench, all that could have worked properly.
Oh, I know.
Carmelo fucked up OKC. Let's be clear. That's all his fault.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It was also Billy Donovan for not being strong enough with him.
That too.
But that being said, I was like, as much as he fucked that up, at least it was more successful. At least he lasted more than 1 month there, you know, and it was odd. I did not expect him to go that quickly when you had a point guard like Chris Paul, who has, for whatever reason, the perception of making his teammates better, or at least more comfortable.
You don't think?
And Russell Westbrook does not have that perception.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Carmelo got humble a year too late.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I also agree with you, though, without question, first ballot Hall of Famer. You could make an argument that he's the greatest U.S. basketball Olympian in the history of your country.
Yes, you can. And certainly one of the 3 best scorers in the last, 25 years. I mean, 3-4 best scorers, but, I mean, pure scorers. I mean...
Yeah.
I mean,
just in terms of his completeness, underrated post game, excellent face up game, can get to the foul line. Not
mid-range, probably one of the best, if not best, mid range game I think I've seen since Jordan.
Yeah, I go with that. Kobe had a pretty good mid range too, but that was on and off. That was more of a fadeaway game than it was a mid range game.
Melo, that was his wheelhouse, mid range.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens there. We're now a month in the season. I'm still not really feeling the LeBron Lakers thing.
I get the feeling this is why you put me on.
Not really. I don't look. I don't find it interesting. It's cool. Yeah, they're winning games. It's not nothing to do with the play on the court. Or is it to do with the fit? In terms of just him being a Laker. It doesn't feel natural to me, and things have to feel natural to me for me to accept it. I don't feel it.
What was interesting to me was the expectations leading into it, and that people, I mean, it depends what day of the week it was, because you got so many from the same people, inconsistent, some people would say, conference finals without that, a conference finals appearance. And then a week later, they'll be lucky to make the playoff.
That's how you find out someone's true NBA intelligence, by them making those little kind of those hot takes. Do you actually know basketball? Do you actually watch 10-3 basketball on the East Coast?
I don't think they do, man.
Exactly.
I don't think they do. Either that or they watch it and they just want to get ratings or clickbait, and they're purposely just trying to ignite an argument or a conversation.
Right.
I don't like what I've seen. This is like clockwork with this guy. It really is. Luke Walton's under the hot seat. They're bringing in more veterans. My goodness. And what happened to that youth movement, that they had there with, the younger players, and how he was going to develop Brandon Ingram, Alonzo Ball, and Kuzma. And now all the talk is about Tyson Chandler.
Exactly.
Or JaVale McGee. I know you've got a lot to say on it, so I don't want to, filibuster your podcast.
No, it's okay. You're a guest. You're allowed to do that.
Well, what I did find it real interesting is, ironically, he has made Tyson Chandler and JaVale McGee look a lot better because of what a terrible defender this guy is. Because he's so bad defensively, these guys have to cover him. And they are now getting the opportunities to block a lot of shots at the front of the rim because these guys are getting blown right by him.
I don't expect him to be a focused defender at this age anyway, to be honest with you.
Why not?
There. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. It's 8, 16, year 17 in the league. I don't, that becomes a thing where I don't expect it anymore, So I won't hold that against him necessarily. But I'm with you the whole thing with the youth movement and all that. I'm here with you about that. I'm here with you about, and by the way, you know how much I love Magic Johnson. My all-time favorite athlete in the history of sports. Okay, I did not like that whole thing with Luke Walton 2 weeks ago. The whole thing about if that meeting was true, which from what we hear it was true, and him being on the hot seat, I think that's complete bullshit.
They're idiots. They're absolute idiots. If that's what, or maybe this is, they actually sat down and said, look, this is what we're going to report. We're actually happy with you, but we're trying to report to you, we'll get this leak out there. And maybe they're playing the media like Twiddles as well. Because
I see nothing here to suggest that Luke Walton's not doing his job.
He's done an excellent job. You look at this guy, right? The team that he inherited, maybe not this season, right? But for what he's done with the Lakers and the team that he inherited, and the way that they have consistently gotten better and more competitive, he's done an outstanding job with the Lakers.
I agree.
And he did an incredible job. I actually think I thought he should have been coach of the year that Kerr got it. Because remember, Steve Kerr missed half the season.
Yeah.
How the hell are they going to give it to Steve Kerr when Steve Kerr coached less games, had a worse record than what Walton did with the exact same roster?
Did Kerr get it that year?
He did get it that year. He didn't get it the first year. Budenholzer or whatever his name is got it in Atlanta. And when you look at that team, it's hard to sort of argue that. But yeah, Kerr got it the next year. That was the year they won 73 games
and lost to the Cavs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could be right. Maybe they're playing. Maybe that's all fake. They're putting it out there for the media just to kind of divert attention and all that. But if it's true, if that meme did happen and was actually a real thing, I'm sorry, Magic, you're wrong there. That's just not cool. I mean, look at the roster you gave him to begin with. You work with this shit? You know, Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee and 2 weeks in
Michael
you're bitching about results?
Magic's a genius. I just thought of this just then. Magic's an absolute genius.
Of course he is.
If he diverts the blame to Luke Walton, the blame's off his shoulders at least for one season. Because who's the guy that put this team together? It wasn't Luke Walton. And if it fails, then you blame the coach rather than blame yourself and say, yeah, I gave you a horrible roster to work with.
Kind of like the John Elway problem in Denver. Same thing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. That's a good analogy right there. What do you think if they do the unthinkable, which is possible, right, and they let Walton go, how quickly before he gets snapped up as a coach?
Dude, he'd be one of the let's say like freshest faces to be available on the market as a coach in quite a while, considering his age and you know what he's done. Yeah, he'll be gone in no time.
I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like some of these, he would. Every team that was half disappointed in their coaching,
Minnesota will fire Thibodeau on the spot. I mean, if they're smart, they fire
the Bulls. The Bulls would go after him. The Knicks would go after him. Everyone would go after him.
A lot of big market teams will have them too. I agree. Now the Lakers are surging now. They're playing much better basketball. LeBron had a huge night last night. But again, I mean, and this actually goes to my next question here. You know, you look at the standing. Like for the first couple weeks, I was, you know, obviously Golden State number one. No one's touching Golden State, but that battle for second, you know, Denver was at the time the second best team in the West, and also then come to earth a little bit now. But and even then, I can't even give you who the clear-cut second best team in the West is. Like Utah's underwhelmed this year so far. You know, the teams that we thought would be better, you know, that aren't right now in the moment aren't playing well. Everybody had Utah at one point, but Utah's underwhelmed this year so far. So who, in your opinion, is the second best team in the West? Based on what you forget record. Based on what you see.
Based on what I see, definitely not Portland. Portland has shown they still have the same issues that they ran into the playoffs last year. They are a regular season team.
Yeah.
I would go with Oklahoma. The way they have handled Westbrook being in and out of that lineup, and they're still winning ball games. I'm very impressed with Schroeder. And we kind of underrated. I often said leading up to the season starting that Oklahoma was still my number 3 seed behind Houston and Golden State leading into the season. But when you think about it, Schroeder is back in the role that he is very comfortable with, and that's including when Westbrook is back. When Schroeder was at his best, he was backing up Jeff Teague in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, he's back in that role. There's no expectation for him to shoot the ball 20 times. He's running that offense well. Steven Adams is looking like a player you can actually throw the ball to, and he doesn't just get you offensive rebounds and defend. You've got the development of Grant. You've got the development of Ferguson. Paul George is looking more and more comfortable there. And then, my God, what happens when Westbrook comes back? You know, that's going to be the real test of how.
And by the way, this is a team that started 0-5.
Yes. I mean, they were competitive in some of those games, but yeah, 0-5 is 0-5. And now all of a sudden, what are they now? Like 10-5, 11-5? What are they?
9-5.
9-5, there you go. So, I mean, they are looking very, very nice. So I would put them as number 2. If I had to do a power ranking right now, Denver is number 3. Jokic is playing incredible. Yeah. They run that entire offense through him, and they all respond to him. He's maybe the quietest leader the NBA has seen in the last 10 years. And I like what I see in Denver. You're right about Utah, but it's still early. You're right about the Lakers, it's still early. I expect the Clippers, I expect Memphis, and I expect Sacramento to all drop out, and obviously Houston will ascend at some point, you would hope. Just for a competitive basketball landscape standpoint. You mentioned Golden State being untouchable. And I did an episode not that long ago about how Kevin Durant actually saved the legacy of the Warriors. I don't think they're untouchable at all. And when you look at how fragile this team might be, and are they really relying on Steve Kerr to hold this all together?
Well, this Draymond Durant thing is very interesting too, because I mean, if you believed it to be true, and all these things that happened, and what Draymond said to Durant at the end of the game against the Clippers and whatnot, I mean, there's definitely some smoke here. Now, this is what I will say. This is something Colin Cowherd said on the show yesterday, and I actually agree with 100%. This is still Steph Curry's team.
Oh, it never changed.
Because even when Durant got there, it was the same thing. Heat also with LeBron in Miami. Yeah, it was LeBron was the best player, but it was still Wade's team.
Yeah.
I mean, Wade was still the captain. Steph Curry is secure in who he is. Kevin Durant's not. Period.
But that being said, Dwayne Wade was a hell of a lot more of a locker room presence than what Steph Curry is. People weren't messing with Dwayne Wade.
I mean, with Steph Curry, it's hard to tell because Steph Curry is very quiet. He's not, I don't know. Steph Curry, maybe, you're probably right there, but I don't want to undersell Steph Curry's influence because Steph Curry, he's quiet. He doesn't have to again, he's secure in who he is, that he doesn't need to be this, let's go team all the time. I mean, you saw that with Wade a lot more often, but I feel like Curry is actually leads by example.
Well, he's a lead by example guy, but that being said, there's times when you have to grab a player by the scruff of the neck and put him back into plays. And Draymond Green has essentially had free reign for their entire run, whether it's been kicking players in the nuts and getting suspended in the finals or whatever it is, or getting into screaming matches with Kerr. Nobody has been able to control this guy. And I've got no problems with players showing their emotion, but he hurts their team. He's a bit of a knucklehead at times because he absolutely hurts his team.
He cost them a fucking championship.
Yeah, absolutely. They should be going for their 4th title in a row right now. They really should be. He's the reason that they he nearly bailed them out of Game 7 though, of that series. He had it.
But it would have not gone 7 games had he.
Yeah, no, it would have been done in 5 without question.
Yeah.
But the fact remains, who's going to actually pull him into the line? Because clearly Durant is a more important player going forward for them, at least this season.
Durant's the best. See, that's why I disagree with you on there. Durant's the best player on the team. Curry's more important than Durant is, though, in my opinion.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the comparison between Draymond Green and Durant, not Steph Curry.
Okay. Okay, that's a different topic.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: Do you buy into the whole Durant leaving Golden State after this year?
Yeah, I do.
Regardless of result, if they win the title, he stayed all the year.
Yeah, I think he's seen all this noise, and I think he's pissed off by it. I think he's genuinely pissed off by it. I think he thought what would happen was similar to LeBron when LeBron went to Miami, and there'd be a bit of backlash, and then once they won, that backlash would subside, and they would just appreciate it. But when you've got all-time greats like Walt Frazier and players like that saying, "Look, we still don't count your championships," now he's got to really start to evaluate, well, what do I need to do to get those championships validated? So I think he's probably looking at it from that perspective. Look, I've got to get out of Golden State no matter what I do. And this is what a lot of people say, myself included. Whatever he accomplishes in Golden State will come with an asterisk next to it. He can't. And the same thing, honestly, the same thing kind of happened with LeBron too, to the diehard haters of him. I don't know, people like to lump me into that conversation, whichever. I don't care, really.
Well, listen to your podcast. I mean, I can see why they think that way. To some degree.
Well,
you are critical, LeBron. I actually like that you are critical, LeBron, because I think.
Well, I'm just going to roll over and accept this.
Let me tell you why. I'm going to defend you here. Because with the media, we get so much of the LeBron worship all the time that it's very rare to hear people talk about LeBron in a critical way. That it's negative. It's not really negative. It's critical. It's more realistic, and you do that at least.
Everything that I've said about him has always been based off facts. I've never said, I don't like him because, he was born in 1984 or whatever it was. Idiotic stuff.
84 is a great year. Great music year, for the record.
Oh, was it really?
Great.
I read the book 1984. That's a good book. George Orwell.
George Orwell? Yeah.
Yeah. Even better than Animal Farm, but we'll have a discussion about that after But yes, he is. Anyway, I had to study both at university.
Right.
I believe that.
Right.
Regardless, everything that I've said about LeBron has always been factual. And it's the thing that has pissed me off is the media and the double standards. And they want to praise. See, for anybody that's listening that follows me on social media or whatever, and they see the quote unquote negative that I point out, like he doesn't play defense or whatever, I and this is an insight as to what I'm doing. What I am actually doing is pointing out how ridiculous their standards are. Because if we point out how good James Harden is, for example, what is the first response that a LeBron James fan or the media will point out? The fact that he doesn't play defense. All right, so if we're going to drag down every single player based on their flaws, I'm going to do the exact same thing with LeBron so you can see how ridiculous it is. And if you say that I'm a hater of him, then you're a hater of everybody else that's ever picked up a basketball. Because the only way that LeBron is ever held up to the levels that he is held up by his fans and the media is if you drag everybody down. That's right. The only way he gets into that top 3 conversation. That's the only way he gets into or even higher by according to some people. So that's the method to the madness that I'm doing. I don't hate the guy. I want to see him do well because if he does well, then basketball does well. You know, I don't want to see him go out there and suck. But that being said, if people say he's an MVP candidate now because the Lakers are playing better and their record indicates that, then what about Tyson Chandler? What was their record before they got Tyson Chandler? So if we're strictly going off records and we're basing a player's value off their records, then Tyson Chandler is the MVP of this team and it's not LeBron James. Yeah. That's why context is required. Sorry, excuse me.
No. I like the passion there. I agree 100%. And you know, I'll admit there are times. Now in Miami, when he's in Miami, he's a little different. I'm a Heat fan. So I'm going to pick up the defense and defend him to a little more to some degree but I also was critical in moments too. Like I was critical in 2011. You know, when he came out small to me. Sorry, he to me the reason why Jordan won't be better because even when Jordan lost to Detroit or Boston, I never got that performance from Jordan. Jordan worked his ass off even in losses. That shit that LeBron pulled in 2011 is why he'll never be better than Jordan. Period. Discussion. You know what I mean?
The reason he won't be better than Magic, as bad as Magic was, and we all know Tragic Johnson. No player in the top 20 has had a performance like that.
No, Magic made blunders.
Yeah, but that's not like that. No, he wasn't getting lit up by JJ Barea and Jason Terry.
LeBron didn't show up.
Yeah,
LeBron was scared.
You know what? You could sit down and you write a book about that, about what actually happened and reasons as to what happened. I had a guest on my podcast. His name's Mike Frey. He's written a book as well. He's a very intelligent guy, and he said his theory on it was he went to Miami, so when the going would get tough in terms of scoring the basketball, he would have Wade. He never had Wade before. He had guys like Mo Williams or Antoine Jameson or an older Shaq or Zydrunas Ilgauskas, players like that. But that's not Dwayne Wade, right? And then that moment came, and Wade was playing well, but Wade needed him to also stand up. And LeBron's like, well, I came here, and he didn't. And that look of confusion is what happened. It's hard to argue that when you think about it, because LeBron looked honestly shocked, and also we saw the flaws in LeBron's game. LeBron's game was deeply flawed offensively at that point. Yeah. I mean, it was disturbing how bad it was, and defensively too.
One result guy. He just went to the basket and
yeah. Do you remember the play that I think he was posting up JJ Barea? I think it was in Game 6, and he just didn't know how to post up this guy.
Yeah,
he just
ridiculous.
It was disappointing, man.
It was, because what pisses me off more than anything else about that series too, about LeBron, is that if the Heat would won that series, Dwayne Wade would win MVP of that series 1-1. Okay? And furthermore, Chris Bosh played well in that series too.
He had a game-winning jumper.
Yeah, in game 3. Yeah, and the thing is, and no one says anything about this, but he actually let the other two guys, like, for all the shit Chris Bosh takes from the media and whatnot, you know, through those 4 years, that series, LeBron let Chris Bosh down.
Oh yeah, without question. They'd let him down his entire tenure in Miami. Both of them. They both threw him under the bus. This is the anger part that people think that I hate LeBron on. No, but when it comes to LeBron, he does not respect his teammates, and he will throw anybody under the bus.
Dude, LeBron wasn't even do you know who the two best scorers in the series was? It was
Wade
and Bosh. Wade and Bosh in that order. Not LeBron James.
Yeah.
Wade and Bosh.
Jason Terry outscored this guy, and he was coming off the bench. I mean, it's insane when you think about that. And all the blame for Miami is typically thrown at the feet of Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
Or, you know, especially when it just drives me nuts. It drives me nuts how inconsistent this is, and it stems from the top. You didn't see him get up there and defend Chris Bosh. You never saw that. You saw him up there giggling in 2014 reading his own stat line out. Like, what the hell? You're getting your ass kicked, and that's your response. Look, at the end of the day, right, if you want the personal opinion of what LeBron is, he's the most, outside of Shaq, he's the most athletically gifted player to ever play the game of basketball. But he, in my honest opinion, and I don't know if this is true or not, I don't think he respects basketball. He doesn't respect the greats. He will pretend that he does because it's brand building, right? But you look at his relationship or lack thereof with Jordan. It's on him to actually have that relationship with Jordan. It's not on Jordan. You look at what Jordan actually did with Kobe and how he mentored him. Jordan didn't have to do that, but he saw the appreciation and the love of the game that Kobe had. And he reached out to him and helped him develop, both professionally and privately.
Which great do you think LeBron is actually cozy up to, you think? Which great, all-time great, you think he's been cozy up to? I mean, Magic to some degree, but not really that much.
No, I think he cozies up to himself.
Yeah, I think LeBron. I mean, Magic now because they work together now. But beyond that, I know there's something to that too.
I just don't think he respects the game. I think he's an opportunist, and I think he's honestly sort of been manipulated to the point that people think he's the greatest based off stats. Since when have we ever looked at stats to determine a player as being the greatest player of all time?
LeBron James is Aaron Rodgers, the most talented player I've seen play basketball.
No, not even that bad. Not even that bad. No. Aaron Rodgers, for all his ilks, at least I know that if Aaron Rodgers is going to go down, he's going to go down swinging. He's not going to blame his teammates. That's a huge difference.
I don't know. Aaron Rodgers does have his moment. Aaron Rodgers is a bit of a diva, and to me, Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback to ever play football. Is he the greatest? No, because you have to include accomplishments there too, and that's where Tom Brady has him beat.
Oh, okay. Do you have Aaron Rodgers in your top 5?
All time, not yet, but that's only because of the fact that he hasn't finished playing football yet. I do expect him to be there at some point, though.
He's close.
He's very close. He's definitely top 10. He's the most talented quarterback I've ever seen play football.
I would give you the most talented arm. I don't think his legs are up there with, like, say, other scrambling quarterbacks. Although he had his moments too. He's not a slouch in terms of running.
No, but what I'm saying is that he does everything right. Like if you did a table Aaron Rodgers' game, he does nothing wrong.
The eye test, he's up there.
Everything. Yeah, he's the most accurate I've ever seen. He's the most accurate on the move. Accurate.
Oh yeah, those Hail Marys.
Yeah.
That's my point altogether. Though, when a guy is getting killed in the pocket because they've got no offensive line anymore, and he's still standing in the pocket delivering those balls, I can say he's still going down swinging.
Right. Tom Brady's the greatest all time because Tom Brady is the most coachable of all time greats. Okay, even though he's 40, he doesn't need to be coached anymore. He doesn't really need that. He still takes the advice. He still takes the, Aaron Rodgers is not very coachable. Aaron Rodgers is like a jazz player. He's just like random, which could be good and bad at the same time too. You know what I mean? So Brady has the accomplishments. He has the rings. He has also the moments, all that. Rodgers is getting there, but Rodgers needs another Super Bowl championship to change the narrative.
Well, one's maybe not enough. To be in the
two will probably be the one that saves him.
Yeah. But then you look at Green Bay, though. I mean, what are they going to bring in to?
Well, that's just it. The Packers front office is the reason why he won't have. I did it. I just did a podcast on this yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Green Bay's window is shutting close to be done because of their front office, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. You should get me in these football podcasts.
Yeah,
man.
I should. I mean, I keep forgetting you do watch the NFL, and you're plugged.
Just don't get me in baseball, man.
It's okay.
Horrible baseball.
No, I barely talk baseball on this show anyway. You know I love it.
So okay. What I wanted to ask, getting back to the whole Durant thing, because we went off topic.
Right. Do you? Okay. You think Durant leaves regardless of if he wins the title this year? Regardless?
Yeah. I think that probably solidifies whether he goes on it. If he wins another title, he'll probably think, well, I've won 3 here. What else? And I still can't get the respect. I've won 3. It will be his 3rd finals MVP unless Steph Curry puts up 35 points on 80% from 3, which is doable for him, by the way.
Steph Curry,
that wouldn't surprise me.
I hope it happens. By the way, I hope it happens. I hope he does leave because it's better for the league.
You hope he doesn't leave, or you hope he does
leave? It's better for the league, man.
Where would you like to see him go?
I wouldn't mind New York.
See, but that might be too big of a drop for him.
Could be.
Because he may be, because that might prove the point that, he had to go.
But New York will have Porzingis back next year. Then you also, I mean, the drawing power from him going somewhere like that, he'll get really good players wanting to play with him now as a result. So it may have the domino effect of X guy goes here, star player ends up drawing players to his team, and their team becomes in the mix in the Eastern Conference.
How much would you think he would be aware of people saying that his career would be mirroring LeBron James's career at that point, though? Couldn't win in Oklahoma, had to go to Golden State.
It's easy, but this is why I said that the reason why what Durant did was worse than LeBron in 2016 is very simple. Okay, what LeBron, Wade, and Bosh did was a fucking experiment. There was no guarantee they're going to win a title. Okay, these guys never played together other than the Olympics, and you can't really use that as an elixir. Sorry, can't do that. This was a team that actually gutted the entire roster. The only player on the Heat roster when those three guys signed to Miami in 2010 was Mario Chalmers. That is it. Okay? Whereas Kevin Durant went to a team that won a title 2 years before that, then won 73 games and should have won a title the same year, and went to a team that already had players in place.
Right. But my point is, if he goes to New York, then, but if we compare the career timelines of LeBron and Durant, how eerily scary. Excuse me, I'll get it out one day.
Eerily similar.
Yes, these two are, because you've got LeBron couldn't win in Cleveland, he had to go to Miami to win. Durant couldn't win in Oklahoma. He had to go to Golden State. LeBron's finishing his career out in a huge market in LA that was a dormant market. Now Durant may be finishing his career in what was once a dormant market as well in New York. The timelines are very comparable.
It's comparable and too easy though, because I think LeBron, you're going to see more of this moving forward for the next 30 to 40 years, because prior to 2010, we didn't see players of their magnitude move around like this. Like, the only other player that moved like this was Shaq. And I would still say LeBron is bigger than Shaq, in terms of, appeal. And now with the league now, LeBron is a pioneer in one way. LeBron is pioneered in terms of player movement. Okay? You're going to see more of this moving forward from guys like Durant and LeBron. Like, you're going to see more of this now. Well, this will be the norm in about 10 years.
What about, I could see him going to San Antonio. I could see that happening. And that would actually fit, all the pieces would absolutely fit there as well.
San Antonio, that's interesting. I don't know.
Because you think about, I'm not sure what their cap situation is, but the cap keeps going up and up and up. And he's shown the ability to actually take less money. He's taken less money both times.
The only reason why I push back on San Antonio is this. I don't know the Kawhi stuff. If there's stuff that Kawhi that had reasons to leave there, and by the way, you were critical of Popovich and Spurs.
Oh, absolutely.
So if that stuff is true, and the way they handle things, and Kawhi being at the time a top 5 player and still is now, does that now put Durant say, I don't know, my boy Kawhi was there and things ended bad and he had a good situation, yet he still left. Why you leave there for? Maybe not go there.
It's definitely not as shiny of a destination.
Kawhi may have actually put a little more dent in the San Antonio market, for the future because of basically him leaving.
But that being said, if he looks at this team, DeRozan's playing well. LaMarcus Aldridge has resurrected his career as well.
But they are getting older,
and
though.
They are getting older. They are, but so is Durant. And then he looks at this team and says, well, I've got to win, but I've got to get the credit for winning. What's the best opportunity for that to happen?
It's still New York, because New York you'll get all that and then some because of the market. New York is a bigger market than LA in general. Okay, now the Lakers Durant winning a title in New York will be bigger than LeBron winning a title in LA. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'll give you that because New York's dying for a winner. Even the Yankees.
Forget the fucking Yankees and all the fucking Giants and shit. I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah.
The Knicks haven't won a fucking title in over 40 years.
Yeah, 73.
Okay? I mean, for a market as big as that, that's asinine to me. I mean, they do spend money. They will spend money. It's not a problem.
Yeah, on stupid shit. They're idiots with their money.
Of course.
If they still had Phil Jackson, I could buy it. But I could see Phil Jackson making that sales pitch.
Phil Jackson? Well,
yeah.
If Phil was, yeah. I think New York is probably realistic because of that. Because it is appealing in a way where I can change it. Like, That's the only place right now I see Durant can go that can flip the narrative and no one gives a fuck about Golden State anymore in the Golden State years. You win one title and go in New York, you're a god. Because New York is, look, the Lakers is that. Yeah, but the Lakers have 16. Okay, LeBron will be just one of the other guys that won titles in LA.
Yeah, it would be his Cleveland moment, that's for sure.
No, it'd be bigger. It'd be his Cleveland moment, and probably bigger because of the market he's in.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'll give you that.
Because Cleveland's title means a lot to Cleveland. New York will mean a lot to the entire country. It'd be eyeballs for years.
Oh, that was pretty big though. When Cleveland won, they had the whole. Because that was all of Ohio that really celebrated.
Because well, a lot of it too is because of who they beat also too, and the way it happened and all that, and LeBron and all that. But New York is still New York, dude. Like, New York is the biggest.
It is bigger. No, it is bigger. No, I give you that. It is bigger. But he's, how Porzingis plays as well is going to be big. If he comes back and he's a shell of himself, which is a possibility. That's a big injury he's coming back from.
Yeah.
Without him. What are the options? I know they got cap room. They may be getting two big players coming in.
Yeah,
they may have to overpay for two of them, but
that's one of the very few teams in the league that has no problem going to luxury tax and paying double.
Oh, without question.
Trust me, they have money for days. Before I let you go, one of the good things of LeBron being gone out of Cleveland is the East now. LeBron took out the oxygen out of the Eastern Conference, and for the first time.
On the contrary, man. I think him leaving is brought life back into it.
It's not that him being there was bad necessarily. It's just that even if this result happened, let's say Cleveland was 7-7 right now, and you have all these teams here: Toronto, Milwaukee, Indiana, Boston, Philadelphia, playing great. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. But we know LeBron in April is going to take care of business no matter what. For the first time in so many years. You don't know who's winning the East. Like we all thought Boston will be the best team, and they probably will end up being the best team, in my opinion. I am winning the title, in fact, this year. But
hey, you're with me, man. I'm going to win.
I am winning the title this year. I think Golden State, the Golden State shit's real. But you have all these, and now the Jimmy Butler going to Philadelphia. That adds more intrigue because I said before the year started, Philadelphia will come back to the pack a little bit, but Jimmy Butler sort of fixes that problem a little bit. You got Toronto playing phenomenal basketball with Kawhi. Milwaukee has made that surge I thought they'd make. Indiana's playing good basketball, by the way. Boston, they're Boston. Philadelphia's in the mix too. So you got 5 legitimate teams right now in the mix, that could really, you just don't know. And I think LeBron not being in the Eastern Conference now has been great for the NBA.
Well, let's just look back one season. With LeBron, they were the 4th seed, right? So it's not like they were tearing everybody up last year either. And he was pushed to a Game 7 by the Pacers, who had one bona fide all-star in Oladipo, who had an incredible year. Underrated MVP candidate last year too.
Correct.
So they were a good team, but yet they still pushed them to 7 games. Then they took out the Toronto Catfishers, Toronto Raptors. Catfishes. And then they were pushed to 7 games by a team that was missing their best player in Kyrie Irving and one of their other best players in Gordon Hayward. I wouldn't put him at number 2, but he was in their top 3 or 4 players, at least heading into the season. So, the East was already you were starting to really see signs of the East developing into, a lot more competitive basketball than just because LeBron. It's not just because LeBron's left and everybody's like, oh, now we can play. I think we would have seen the exact same situation. And maybe that's why LeBron bailed, because he realized that he can't keep this streak going in the East with the Cavs. So it's best to get out now before these other teams started to emerge. But I'm with you. I'm totally with you. You said last year that the East was more exciting. You didn't say it was better, but you said it was more interesting and exciting.
And the reason why is because Philadelphia made that push. We all thought was happening. And Philadelphia actually overachieved last year.
Oh, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. I like that.
Indiana, obviously, we thought they'd fall off the cliff. They did not. Obviously, Boston was Boston, so that's the big deal there. Who else was great last year that kind of came out of nowhere? Let me see. I'm looking through the teams.
Indiana.
I said Indiana. I said them.
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee was good, but Milwaukee actually underwhelmed last year, to be honest with you, in my opinion. Toronto, of course, was Toronto. They won nearly 6 games last year. So there was performances in the East that made you think, oh, okay, well, it's not bad. Some unknowns here. But this year, the East is what I thought would have been last year. But,
But do you attribute that to LeBron, or do you attribute that just to the development of some of these younger teams?
Both.
Okay.
Because a lot of it is perception too. A lot of it is, well, part of it is obviously, Philadelphia's gotten better, and and Indiana's gotten another year on their belt with Oladipo and whatnot, and Milwaukee got a new coach, and Toronto, you got Kawhi, but also LeBron not being there, not having that shadow of doubt over it from October to April,
Let me ask you something though. If LeBron had stayed in Cleveland,
yeah,
which almost sounds ridiculous now to even mention it as a hypothetical, but had LeBron stayed in Cleveland and Kevin Love and everybody else stays, and we saw the development with Boston and obviously Jimmy Butler and Milwaukee coming on, do you still think that Cleveland will be the favorites in the Eastern Conference this season?
No, because I think Boston, we all knew last year was the last gasp for LeBron to be the overall favorite in the East, and even then it was still. I'll say this: if Kyrie was healthy last year, Boston wins that series.
Oh, easily, probably.
I might even come up with Hayward. Let's talk about this Kyrie Irving alone.
Yeah. Gordon Hayward, look, they got to do something with him because he is the odd man out, and he's. I hate to say it because he's still fairly young, but he's too old in comparison to those other players that they've got. You're not giving up Brown. You're not going to give up Tatum. You have to make a deal, and probably including Rozier.
The problem with that is Hayward's contract right now, because of the injury, is a bad contract now. Now it's a bad contract. You know what I'm saying?
How far-fetched would it be if, just say, these problems with the Warriors really explode? I mean, really, really, really explode to the point there's, Shaq and Kobe levels of 2000, 2001 stuff where it looks like these guys will not be in the same locker room. They don't want to pass the ball to each other. And it starts to implode. And just say they're about 10 games above 500, which is not far-fetched because last season they were only about 15. They finished the season about 15, 16 games above 500. If Golden State is convinced that Durant is not going to come back, would it surprise you if they prematurely traded him to, say, Boston for, God, I don't know, Hayward, Rozier, and Boston still has a plethora.
That one never happened.
I love using that word, but a plethora of draft picks, and they're not just their picks, from teams like Sacramento and places where they
never happened. No, never happened.
It never happened?
First off, I think you mentioned that because you want to say plethora, number one. Okay, so this out of the way. The only reason you brought that ridiculous little thing is because I want to say plethora. Okay, there you go. Plethora. You happy?
Was that another Aussie accent?
Plethora. I can't do it. I can't do Aussie with the plethora. Sorry. Yeah. No. And let me tell you why. First off, as whatever we believe about the Golden State stuff, the Durant Golden State stuff is nowhere near the levels of Kobe and Shaq. Nowhere near levels. If Kobe and Shaq was done today in 2018, that'd be box office media, all scrounging around the LA Forum and all that every day. Trust me.
My God, they would have had some fun with that.
First off, the Draymond Green and Kevin Durant is nowhere the star power of Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. There's no way. Draymond Green is nowhere comparable to Shaq or even to Kobe for that matter in terms of star power. So Draymond Green will be easily the odd man out in that situation if given push to shove. You know what I'm saying? So that's not the right comparison.
What happens if Durant goes to them straight up, or if they ask him and they say, "Look, what are you doing next year? We need a verbal agreement that you'll stick around," and he tells them, "No, I'm going."
Well, I mean, you win another title, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure they'll try to trade him, but I mean, who's gonna? I don't know, dude.
But if they're looking to trade him, who's got more pieces that could actually fit with Golden State than Boston?
But you also have to think about too. Will Durant sign the place he goes to trade to? Will he sign a long-term agreement there?
If it's Boston, I could see that happening. I mean, look, they sold Kyrie. Oh, they didn't get him to re-sign.
The only reason they would do it in Boston is to get out of the Gordon Hayward contract.
Yeah, but I could see that happening too.
But I look, I don't think it'll ever happen. I think Durant.
I got you thinking though, right?
You have to think of that. But I think Durant has Golden State on the hook in the event they win this year. If they win this year, that's 3 in a row. You can't
4 out of 5.
No, forget the one he didn't win with them though.
Oh, okay, right.
He wins this year. That's 3 in a row. Why would you go for 4 in a row? You'd be the only team since Boston to do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The only thing is maybe Maybe he's so fed up with the criticism.
Right. LeBron said it himself, too. If he had won in 2014 in San Antonio, he would have stayed another year. He said on record. How can you leave that?
Really? That's even worse that he left then.
Yeah. I agree.
Because they lost, he bailed on them?
The team got old. I gotta tell you.
Oh, stop it, man. He's part of that team.
Look, I'm so pissed he left the Miami Heat. Okay, so that's...
Oh, are you kidding me? I didn't know he said on record that had they had won in 2014 that he would have stuck around.
No, what he said was that I'd be hard-pressed not to leave. I'd be hard to leave an opportunity on the table to go for 4 in a row. That's what he said on record.
But because they lost, he bolted.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So
the GOAT, man, the GOAT, right?
Yeah, but again, this is a new era of players, man. Lots of bitching.
I've got to get used to it, right?
These players are they're not like the Jordans and the Kobes. Like I tell you right now, guys like Lillard and Westbrook, you know, I'm critical of Westbrook to some degree, but they're a dying breed. They're the last of a dying breed. Jimmy Butler, dying breed.
I hope. Maybe not. I mean, we thought the center position was dead, and then look at, you know, it's probably the third most talented position right now in basketball.
Yeah, right
outside
now,
of
Embiid and Towns and
Jokic.
Even Whiteside's playing better this year.
Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, it's loaded, man. Did we cover all your topics?
We did everything.
Oh, we did that in record time too.
And it came out. Yeah. I had 6 things. I had 6 talking points on my list here, and we hit it all.
Sweet. Thanks for having me on, man.
We're gonna have you on soon, man. Definitely. Plug your stuff. Plug your books. Plug everything. Oh, by the way, author and podcaster. I gotta stop doing that. Podcaster alone. Author and podcaster. Matthew Damian. Plug everything. Plug away, man.
Okay. Instagram, Facebook. I still love this game. All one word. iTunes, Spotify. If you're in the Toledo region, some exciting news. Syndication will be happening within the next month for a radio station, which I can't name yet until it's actually all finalized. But we will be on the radio. We'll have I think it's a 9:30 to 10 p.m. time slot on Wednesday nights.
A basketball show?
Cursing.
A basketball show?
No. Well, my own basketball show will be on there, yeah. And we'll be talking about basketball. Obviously, it will be the same. If you're listening to the podcast, nothing changes. It's just the podcast will be airing in syndication on the radio network. We just need to finalize some things from a legal standpoint because I cannot work here legally yet. Thank you to the immigration department. I have to go through a process still and wait in line like everybody else, which is fine.
I'll call Trump. Let me call Trump. Let me call Don.
Oh, you got his number? Please do.
He likes to yell at me all the time, though.
Well, you're King. I knew it. You're King Jong-il. Anyway.
No.
You're Acosta? You're that Acosta guy? Even better.
That guy's a disgrace, just on the record.
So big news if you're in the local area, and hopefully we can expand on that and grow the audience out. In the meantime, as I said, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, I don't know, wherever you look it up, you'll probably find it, or istilllovethisgame.com as well. You'll find them there too. All the links are there.
Isn't new media great, man? I love new media.
Isn't it? It's remarkable, isn't it?
I love them. I love content. I love creating content. You
know? Before you go, I need to get you on I want you to record a 5-minute segment for my 100 shows special.
You're on 90, right now you're on 93 now, I think. 92, 93.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to get you now.
Well, at this rate, the way you're recording now, it won't be till fucking next summer, right?
No, settle down. It's picking back up. It's picking back up. So once this is finished, obviously, we'll get you to...
I'm actually 2 behind right now. I listened to the part of the Durant episode you did a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the other one I think I started too was let me find it real quick. Damn it, where did I go? Look, I'm a podcast whore. Oh, the Cavs struggles.
Okay, so keep that in mind. And right now, if we can separate the clip, let's do that. And then I'll put the next 5 minutes into the show.
When do you think we'll be doing that?
Right now, you got 5 minutes?
Sure, I guess.
Okay, sweet.
All right. Podcast, all right, cool.